Jeff Cohn, welcome to iSigma On Air. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Tom. This is awesome. It's a privilege, and I was just telling you a moment ago that it's been a long time coming for these ideas, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, so you've been in the industry quite a while. So I first met you when you were part of Business Records BRM in Florida, and
That's
you
right.
were working with Tom Siebert. And so he sold to VRC, and you took a path differently. So you took a path from the industry onto the vendor side. Tell me a little bit about that transition for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So long time in the industry down in Tampa, Florida. During that time, I think Tom would probably validate this story. He said, Jeff, you're a young whippersnapper. You seem to know about technology. We got to do this document scanning thing. Go figure that out. And so I came to Prism, which former iSigma, learned about document scanning, met a guy named Chris Kelly and other people that were doing it, and we built a scanning business and grew it pretty well and sold it. During that time, we used software from Digitech Systems. That's where I work today. We sell through a channel. We're a software developer in kind of three key areas: capture, doc management, and AI.
Okay. So Digitech, for the unknowing, because you've been around, the company's been around the industry for quite a while. Let's just break those apart quickly so that everybody understands the dynamics of those three. So we'll do the first two because those are the historic ones, and then we'll spend some time on the third one, which I think is fascinating.
The third one's disrupting the
Right.
other two.
Right, but just for context sake.
Yeah, so when we say capture, think operationally software that's helping take paper records, digitize them, and find as many ways as possible to automate the rest of the steps, right? Making the images clear, extracting data from the images, indexing, naming those images, and then sending them where they need to go. The second piece is where they need to go, which is what we call document management or hosted repositories. But basically, customer needs to keep their documents, their digital documents securely, be able to search and retrieve, gain access through security provisioning, audit trails of where these documents have been, et cetera.
Okay. And so that has historically been done because do you guys sell equipment to go with that, or you're just the software side?
Just the software.
Okay.
Yeah.
So presumably, let's call it a record storage company or a shredder decides to add this service to their category because that's the channel you're selling through. Mm-hmm. When we use the word channel, they do this. They get a scanner, and I'm just saying the word Epson. I don't know if that's the right one or some other machine. Your software plugs in. They run scans. Those scans go up to a cloud repository, the doc management side, and then the client gains access. And that's where we've been doing it.
Yeah.
How we've been doing it for a number of years. I mean, I remember when I sold my record center, this was starting to be on the horizon. It was just sort of budding at that point. But now things are changing. So AI is starting to unfold in your company. Tell me a little bit about what's happening. What are you guys doing? What's interesting? What's evolving?
So a lot. You asked me earlier, do I like working in this space? I said it's a lot of fun because we're right on the cutting edge of technology. I often joke now is the first time in my career that when someone says, "What do you do?" I say AI, and they have so many questions and things to say versus, "Well, it's called record storage. What's that?" Right?
Right.
Here's it in a nutshell. Our latest product system is a cloud-based document management platform. As we've built AI into the platform, it's really changed and opened up new avenues of how people use it. And I'll give you just kind of an easy case. All of our scanning companies, scanning bureau partners, when they saw this technology and the ability for AI to just automatically extract all this data off of a document, rename the document, give contextual insights to the document, they all immediately kind of raised their hands and said, "Hey, Jeff, this is great, but can I use this in my scanning operation?" I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So we rewrote our capture software so that they can push stuff up to the repository and pull it back down because they want to leverage the AI technology even for their own internal operation. And that was a big kind of pivot in terms of figuring out all these things that people want to use this technology for beyond the simple search and retrieve.
So okay, so let me back up and make sure I understand. So the system sys.tm, which is AI focused or AI native, I'm presuming. So does the capture happen the same way? You're still capturing,
So
or are you just uploading to the cloud, or you're both?
you're both. And that's what's really fascinating. So one of the things that we're doing very differently than our competitors, probably a key thing, in the AI doc management space, there's two plays going on. One is what I call a pass-through. So a software manufacturer will say, hey, if you're working with Microsoft or you're working with Amazon, bring those credentials. We'll push your data up to their AI engine and bring it back.
Okay.
But you have a relationship with that provider. The other is more of a married thing, right? They'll say, we're all in with Microsoft, that's who we're using, and it's great, and here's why. On system, we're agnostic. I call it an AI clearinghouse. So when you log into our platform and you build an automated flow, we have Anthropic, Google, Amazon, NVIDIA,
Yep.
Meta. We've got like 30 different AI models, AI providers with various models. And you can pick and choose which model you want to use. And that's where the kind of the toolkit use case was born to say, in addition to or even separate from the document management platform, I want to leverage this technology. It's all consumption based, right? So it's building out flows and paying for what you use. Another key thing that makes it critical is all these models are different. You've played around with a lot of different AI platforms. They have different advantages, different disadvantages. They have different cost models.
Yep.
So if you're running a business, right, you don't necessarily need to use this super high-end model for some basic data extraction off a document.
Correct.
You can use Amazon Nova Lite, and it's
Right.
super cheap. You can also compare. So we have people that have complicated things that they're doing where they're actually leveraging multiple models from different providers. It's not realistic to try to do that directly with those providers. You wouldn't have two dozen accounts running.
So are you then? And I realize we're going down the sort of the technical rabbit hole.
We're gonna geek out a little bit.
Yeah, no. So and I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding the flow because I'm trying to be someone who's not completely aware of all the pieces and parts. But so let's just the system tool sys.tm, and I'm saying that for those just listening. Is the AI tool. But coming from the historic part, let's just go somebody scans their document, it goes into your document management system, and then system comes in and now can work with what it knows in there, not just the data that traditionally you would have collected, like the invoice ID or something like that. It's now able to review the whole document, and now it can become a repository of data for anything else you want to do with it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a big area that I find myself educating, right?
Yeah.
I call it the death of OCR, right?
Yes.
Like there's deeper contextual insights that AI can perform on. So a couple ways that I tend to do this. One is we do a really simple demo with some photographs that we index to make the point that there are no characters on this page.
Right.
They don't exist. It's a picture of a tree. But you could still build out the most ridiculously complicated index schema and make it index that.
Right.
Right? Because it can look at it and think about it. You could throw a video at it. You could throw a spreadsheet at it. You can throw anything you want at it, right?
So just to back up, the traditional path would say we take a physical document, we run it through a scanner of some kind, it goes through your software into your repository, but system comes in and goes, hey, let's look at that. But the other path, which you said earlier, is you can upload directly into your system or repository, work on that, bring that information back down to do business process analysis, to do data analysis, to do any other kind of thing, right?
Yep.
Am I getting that right?
You're getting it perfect.
Okay, cool. So what other use cases are either you seeing or presuming to be able to see from what you're doing? What other cool things, like really practical things, can your partners sell now if they're involved with you on this?
So a couple. The one that's I think really cool because it didn't exist before is, we've always been talking about the future of the paperless office, and it's the long running joke of our industry. That being said, when I'm on demos today, every single time there's more and more natively digital records that people need help with.
Right.
They might be truly native digital records. They might be things that were scanned over the years, but inevitably somebody on the call will raise their hand and say, hey, we've got this J drive and it's got all these files and we can't find anything and we need help with that. Well, in a pre-system world or a pre-AI world, somebody like myself would look at that and go, you got to hire a full-time consultant.
Good luck.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, good luck.
Look at every file and come up with a name.
Right.
Now you can, because you can force AI to run against these files,
right,
and build out that flow and prompt it what you're trying to accomplish, and it can process that, right? I've been having a lot of conversations today about AI,
yep,
right? And it's the hot button word, but it's also interesting because it's pretty clear every conversation where someone sits on this, right? Like AI is amazing, or AI is doom and gloom, or AI doesn't really do what you think it does. But really, it's like a mirror of what you want it to do.
Correct.
And I think that the opportunity on the consulting side is massive, right? It's not that anybody could do it. It's somebody's going to do it, and all that it takes is some focus and some kind of entrepreneurial thought power against it. These tools are helping people, carve out those service lines.
Yeah, it's really that's fascinating, because I think that's our historic industry understood that, right? When we got paper, and people would bring us 10,000 or 100,000 boxes, and they go, I don't know what's there, and we had to basically in the record storage side of things generally, and if they were scanning, we would add that, but we would go box by box and work our way through it. And essentially, that's what we're asking AI to do, right? We're just saying, AI, go through this set of folders and structure and figure out what's in there and figure out what we need to do with it. Mm-hmm. And that was our human eyes. And we often hired, not generally, like when we got big projects like that, we would hire temp staff to come in and sort of help us process all of that. And that's what you're doing with AI LLMs, is just bringing them to the table and saying, help us figure this out, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. Now, to make that work is a complex beast.
Not as complex as it used to be.
No.
That's kind of the amazing thing.
But
we're reading handwritten text now, which is huge.
Yeah.
I see a lot of opportunity in small to medium-sized service businesses, like your HVAC guys and all these companies. They've got all this data that before nobody would take, because it's all handwritten field orders and things. And now we're able to extract all of that right off of the document. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
I'm even seeing, you said something simple. Earlier, I was having this conversation. We had a hardware office equipment dealer, copier dealer, and their customer was a beverage distributor, and they needed help scanning these receipts. Okay, so they needed a scanner to help them, serve this long receipt that they needed to scan. But what the reseller was able to do is to say, hey, you should put AI on that scanner. Let us show you how we can do that. And we did your typical dog and pony demo explaining what indexing is and all of this. What was really fascinating was they turned around and said, we really just need it to name the file. Can it name the file? And I thought,
that's beautiful.
That's interesting.
Yes.
How about we just ask it to give it an intelligent name? And sure enough, Tom, the receipt scanned through, and it got a beautiful name that was, vendor _ receipt _ date, yada, yada, .pdf. And they're like, that's great. That's exactly what we need.
That's it.
And you couldn't do that before. Right. Somebody would have to type that out.
Right. No, I do that. I have an agent that once a week goes through my screenshots on my computer, and it literally looks at every screenshot I've taken, because I take thousands of screenshots in a week, and it looks at every screenshot, and it goes back through and renames them based on the screenshot. That. And then I built sort of other mechanisms to go, is this even worth keeping after a week now? Because I go, well, if I figured that out now, so then I used to have to go back through there, and I'd have 10,000. And that to me is the power of really understanding the capabilities that come with the toolkit that's available to us now. And it's really exciting.
I came here today to get that idea. Thank you.
No, and presumably your system can do that.
Oh yeah.
I love the name, by the way. Like, I think it's such a cool name.
It is a tricky name.
Oh.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
I
From a channel reseller perspective, I often say, it's nice to have just kind of a vague name that way that is not kind of overtaking your brand and your name. So
yeah, but I love it because I live and talk systems all the time. I love systems. I love thinking about. I don't know if you were in my presentation yesterday, but I talked about understanding now going forward. It's less about capabilities and more about systems, and making sure that your systems work, because you're going to have people and you're going to have systems working together, and you can't always blame the person anymore because the system now is the critical component. So I love that name as a result of that.
I no longer can spell the actual word system.
Right. Right. I'm like kind of messed by it now. So what are you most excited about in the next couple of years? Like what's the thing that you're going, holy crap, I can't wait for this to unfold? Are you...
I don't have a perfect answer, but what I will say is I often use this line that we're still mostly solving for yesterday's problems. So I spend a lot of time trying to inspire our channel. We're a privately owned company. We're not a huge company. We thrive on the success and ideas that our channel partners bring to us.
Yep.
And so I'm often kind of pushing them that we need more ideas of what we can be doing with this. I do an example in our demo. I take a record storage contract. Tom, if you're listening, it's a whitewashed version of our record storage contract, because I'm not an attorney, but gosh, he is, and I know that contract like the back of my hand.
Right.
And I try to present to our partners that, in having conversations with customers, all of these things that we're prompting the AI to do with these documents can be replicated in a solution. So within the platform, there's what we call Ask System, which is like a chat GPT wrapped in your private data, your documents, right? So if I'm looking at a document, I can summarize it, all the things that you would normally do. So in the demo, what I'll do is I'll say, imagine for a moment there's an executive on this call, and he says, look, great demo. I've got some staff that'll probably use this. I don't necessarily see myself logging into this every day, but I deal with contracts all day, and there's certain information in these contracts that I'm interested in. I want to see the renewal terms, I want to see the termination clause, and I want to see the limitation of liability.
Yep.
And I get these contracts all day long. So what I would like is every time a new contract hits system, generate this debriefing for me, send it to me in an email, and attach the original contract so I can work through what I want to work through, right? And I just use that as an example of whatever your customer on a demo is gravitating towards, insights that they're looking for in their documents, that can be built into an automated flow that's now part of a solution you're delivering them, right?
Yeah.
The general takeaway being don't stop at indexing.
Right. Yes. Don't stop at indexing, and that's the thing that I think is so cool about how you're thinking, and it's the conversation I have with my clients a lot, which is AI works best on two critical things: your data and a process. And if you don't have a process, and you don't kind of know where you're starting, where you're going, what the inputs, the decision trees, the yes nos, any of that kind of stuff. Like when you have the system that allows you to do process and data together, you've got magic. Like, to me, that's magic. So that's really cool. I love what you're doing. So when you're working with partners, where do they get stuck? Where's the place they get most stuck in this? Just as an average.
So I'll kind of use that to talk about another area that's kind of on the horizon, which is knowledge bases. And so this is a newer area of the product. It's not one that I've gotten super deep into because it's complex.
Yep.
But the idea is this: it's natural to look at system as a product and immediately think, wow, I want to build out a huge database of terabytes of files and then begin to ask questions against all of this, right? Well, in an AI world and a token world, you start to get into the possibility of these huge asks that could be costly, right? And inefficient is probably the better way to put it. And so we have technology now where you can build a knowledge base, and it's a back-end AI technology that learns how to efficiently kind of chunk data and look at it without hitting all of your data every time you want to ask a question, right? And so the idea is that you're building specific knowledge bases within your records, within your data, that people can go to get quick answers on things. I would say our partners gravitate towards like going on a sales call and telling somebody, "Hey, Mr. Customer, you just asked system," like it's Siri or something like that. Trying to reel that in and flatten that a little bit is a challenge.
Yeah. No, and the thing I talked about yesterday is so often, especially when we're trying to make business decisions around this, we miss because it's such a mind stretch for us to figure how this all works, because our brains are trying to, we know as business people who have been in business, your brain's always trying to consolidate and hold all this stuff in place within a context window in our own head, which is generally small, right? And then you get into this stuff and you start describing, well, I can hold all of it. Like, I don't have to forget any of it. And you build this massive context window. And then you got to go, well, but you like that costs you money. Like the inference cost, the cost of extracting that is really high. And then you can go down layers into RAG databases and vector databases and relational.
You've been doing your homework.
Yeah, well, I'm getting ready for you. And it's really complex. And that's the thing is like the complexity of this new world we live in compared with our ability to manage complexity in our own brain is dramatically different. And so part of the challenge I sense that you probably have is how do you extract these really cool things like you're talking about, this structural system to find data when you need it instead of going through all of it. And it's really cool. I'm really excited for you, Jeff. I remember early on when I first met you, I went, this guy's got some serious chops and he's going to do some really cool stuff in his life. And it's really cool to see you really making stuff happen with it.
Well, those words coming from you mean a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for where you've been and where you're going and all the cool stuff that you're doing. So thank you for being part of this world and this community and continued success in everything you're doing.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.